Hello and welcome to another Scoutcast from FFScoutcast.co.uk. My name is Joe.
My name's David.
My name's Az.
And my name's Luke.
Well, welcome everyone. This week we're looking back at a controversial media storm around the captaincy and then ahead, crucially, to Gameweek 3. We're going to look at Chelsea, Arsenal players. They've got very kind fixtures coming. We ponder the worth of Salah and Spurs heavy hitters, and then we go bargain hunting for strikers. So we sometimes get accused of all being very similar as fantasy managers on the Scoutcast, but as our roundup of Game Week 2 hopefully will show, we couldn't have more different styles. So first up is Az. Az is top of the tree with 96 points. What went right?
Well, there's one major factor, isn't there? You all bottled the Aguero. I just can't believe it. I don't want to go on about it too much, and I don't want to act really smug about it. I'm a little bit smug, but it was just a story based on nothing. There was no evidence at all to support that article. And I just read it and I thought there's no quotes here. And then I think someone tweeted that they just read about the because everyone was freaking out that he'd said something in the closed doors conference bit that they couldn't share. And then someone said, oh, they just listened to that. And all it was him sort of bigging up Mendy and Silva. And I just thought, there's no way I'm not captaining him at home to Huddersfield. It never even crossed my mind to take the captaincy off Aguero. It's just such a good fixture for him. I mean, you're always going to have the worry that he's going to be, dropped or benched, because you have that worry of every City player. But to me, everyone was kind of basing the decision on a one-on-one he missed against Arsenal, and like Pep was going to exclude him from, make him train with the reserves or something based on the back of that. I just thought, no, I'm not having that. He's going to play. He eats these teams alive. When he's at home for City, there's no way he's not playing that game. And yeah, I was right. So I was quite happy. Maddison came in, which was great. I've been plugging him on pretty much every medium available. So I was glad to see him score a deflected goal. That was kind of perfect. Mane, Robertson, Salah, 96 overall. So really happy.
Mitrovic as well is another.
Oh, Mitrovic. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that. I mean, he had he had the most shots, I think, in Game Week 1. I had to play him because I didn't have any other alternative. I wasn't really expecting anything from him, and I was really happy with that goal. And he's got some good fixtures coming up, so I'm quite confident with him.
So I mean, the difference between you and me, essentially that captaincy move. So I got 81, and Mike Harborough, one of our regular questioners, asked how much influence should fantasy managers take from supposedly in the know journalists. So I mean, this is the thing that happened. It broke this story. Rumor broke on Friday. So for me, I ended up with Salah, and the reason is I was going away on the Saturday camping, and there was no driving down, and there was no internet at this field. I did hope there might be, but there wasn't. So Friday night, I was going into Saturday really concerned that this, as you said, pretty spurious story would suddenly turn into something and I'd miss it. So it would be and suddenly the Manchester Evening News, suddenly much more respected journalists and in the know would suddenly say, yeah, it's true, Aguero is going to be dropped. And then everyone would take the armband off Aguero, and then I'd be stuck with it all weekend. So I just thought, I want to have a good time. I'm going to forget about it, put it on Salah, nice and safe. And then come Sunday, he was starting, but I didn't captain the Sky, so it was all right. But it was good. It was good to own him. But I don't know. I mean, I'm going to pretend that there's a chance I would have put it back on Aguero if I was around Saturday morning and I'd been on Twitter, etc., and spoken to people like yourself and lots of other posters there who went for David as well, as we'll come to, went for Aguero, and they might have persuaded me. I hope they might have done, but they might not have done. So at the end of the day, I lost out 11 points. So a little bit annoying, but that's fine. Hopefully I won't make.
I think it was combined with the fact I didn't think that Palace game would be particularly fruitful for Liverpool. I thought with Saka and Tompkins, they barely concede goals, and everyone was kind of talking about it as this kind of standout fixture. I thought Palace are tough at home.
Yeah,
if Salah had Fulham at home or something, or Fulham away, it would have been different. But I just didn't fancy Salah in that match. So that's what kind of made it easier for me.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly my thought. I mean, I thought the Guardian's notoriously poor for their predicted lineups, and this on its own, the article was just nothing for me. But it was just that fear that it was going to turn into something, and it was awful. But so, what lessons do we learn? You got to take these things as they come, something like that, without any quotes, without even a source close to or something like that. It was, it's not good. But yeah, 81, can't complain. So yeah, David, what about you? You got a similar score to me, but crucially, you ignored the hype and you went for Aguero captain.
Yeah, no, I really like this question from Mike, actually. Like, I find it really interesting, like, because to be honest, having been a journalist in sport, like, it's one of those stories where, like, I feel like I've written that type of story before because I've had to. It was very clever the way that it was written. It wasn't like he's definitely getting dropped and I'm in the know. It was like he could be dropped and Pep is considering it, which is like, that's just completely different. But it's really clever because I don't want to say it's clickbait because I don't want to sort of like kind of stab journalism in general in the back.
It was clickbait.
Yeah,
it was clickbait.
There we go. You guys can go ahead and say it, but I've got to remember my former life. So but I mean, effectively, that's what it was. Like, it made people click on it because it played on that fear, which almost sounds like he's a villain in some Bond film. But like it was cleverly written because it didn't say he's dropped. It just said he might be, which, to be honest, like, we all knew that anyway, didn't we? Like, we've all just said he always carries that risk. I think the difference is, if we're going to differentiate between that and then like something that actually means something, normally if a journalist has got like a line that they know is definitely true, like they've seen a leaked team sheet or they've got something from someone, they'll probably put it out just like as a matter of fact. They'll just say, have heard that Aguero has been dropped, or just something that's just more clear cut. Because, to be honest, we weren't really expecting quotes. Like, Pep he keeps his cards too close to his chest, and he wasn't going to come out and say, I'm going to bench Aguero. I think that's got to be the difference. Like, that read like clickbait. Whereas some things like we had with some Liverpool team sheets last year, for example, or like sometimes like the Manchester Evening News, like they'll watch the Man United team bus like a hawk, and they'll be able to say, I'm standing right here in front of the team bus and Sanchez isn't on it, for example. Like, I think that's the difference. So then, that's why I went with Aguero.
I think there's an article in it for you, a clickbait article even. But no, just differentiating, because a lot of us, we get this information in, and it is quite hard to know what is news, what is fake news, and it's quite hard to. So it would be quite useful to do that. I mean, one of the things is there's FPL Fredo on Twitter. He was saying that there's a particular in the know Twitter account, MCFC Baller, and he said if he says it, then it's probably going to happen. And I noticed on Sunday that this MCFC Baller had put out something saying that his understanding is that Pep had put out 2 team sheets to keep the media guessing. Both had Jesus in it, but one was Jesus and Aguero up top, and one was just Jesus flanked with Sterling as well.
Like Game of Thrones.
and that seemed to have more credibility. It was someone saying, I have seen 2 team sheets. And he's someone with a reputation of being in the know. And so if I'd have seen that on Saturday morning, I would definitely have gone for Salah, because that for me was doubt, big doubt from an in the know. And maybe that was indeed what happened, that Pep had these kind of thoughts, and that this Guardian reporter was kind of merely reporting that. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It wasn't great. But no, I mean, while you're here, David, something I wanted to ask you about, because we get accused here of being quite different, being very similar managers, as I mentioned earlier. But you're one of the most knowledgeable people I know about fantasy football. Every time I ask you a question, you just go bang, bang, bang. You got the stats, you got the players, and all your recommendations come off. But your ranking history is awful, if you don't mind me saying so.
Yeah, no, you're right.
This is your 9th season, and you've yet to finish within the top 175,000. So what I'm really interested in, and some other people on site have been interested in, is why is that? And what is it that you do? Because you definitely have a different strategy to many of us others if you're doing that quite regularly. And also
really
following on from that.
Strategy, really.
Yeah, but following on from that, what do you think you might do differently this year, now that you're kind of on the Scoutcast and your team will come under even more scrutiny? So yeah, what went wrong and what's going to go right?
Well, I think someone I used to work with said that that your biggest enemy in Fantasy Premier League is yourself, and it's definitely the case. I think for me, I'm one of these people that never takes my advice. I'll always find out what I should do based on what other people are doing, but part of me just wants to do something a little bit different, and that's definitely killed me in the last sort of 3 seasons. I mean, the last 3 seasons is when I have taken it a lot more seriously, because it has come in line with what I've done as a job. Previously, it was just like a hobby that I didn't give a great deal of time to. But in the last 3 or 4 years, fantasy football has just been something that, because I've covered it, I've put more thought into. But then, yeah, that's just the problem. I don't always follow my advice. I remember there was a classic example last season where I think Kane missed one game. And, I made the case in some of the content I was writing, just hold on to him. I know it's a lot of money, but wasting a transfer, you put that to better use elsewhere. And then, 11 o'clock on the Saturday morning, I was like, I just panicked. I think I tend to like Saturday morning panic a lot, which is, I changed my captain at 11:28, that kind of thing. So to say what I would probably do differently this year is, I think that the difference is now that I'm even more closer to it. Like when I was doing fantasy football as a job before, like it was kind of like a side to my job. So like I covered the local football team, but we kind of started to notice that fantasy football coverage just did more numbers because naturally more people play fantasy Premier League than watch Plymouth Argyle play football every week. So it's just something to do. But even then, I wasn't quite as close to it as I am now. And of course, I'm sat here now, like on the Scoutcast, which even to me now is just ridiculous. Rubbing shoulders with people who've, done much better than me in recent years. And I've just, the thing I've just sort of like picking up in sort of the last 12 months is just like patience and kind of like just calmness, and that's kind of rubbed off now.
It's like music to my ears. Are you gonna? So this Maverick
Luke's gonna have something to say about that.
Yeah, I know. This is a segue into. You've ruined my segue.
Oh, sorry.
Segue into Luke, but no. I think you've got a Maverick streak. I think you look at players and you think, God, I want that player in. I don't care if I have to take a couple of hits to do it. And then you make those rash moves on a Saturday morning.
Yeah. I think the only other thing is like last season, I did come close to finishing like 40, 50k, which for me would have been an achievement. The problem was I really went big on the double game weeks, and as we sort of discussed at the back end of last year, like a lot of people who went in on the kind of double game week template team, it just imploded. Like all of the defenders we pulled, I like Wes Morgan in my team. Why was Wes Morgan in my team? Like what was that about? Everybody else had him
as well.
But yeah, exactly. It made sense at the time, and just somehow all these factors kind of stacked up in one go. And the template team that on paper should have done really well did really badly, and then I dropped like a stone the last 4 weeks and ended up sort of back where I'd always finished, which was really frustrating because it was after I'd got this job and I was like, I really need to finish with a respectable position, otherwise everybody's going to hate me. But this season started well for me so far. I think, like I said, calmness kind of emanates from just being close to it. So like I now just spend 8 hours a day with the members area. Whereas previously I could only, I know. Whereas previously it'd be like,
this is wonderful stuff because so basically we're turning you into a dullard, which is fantastic news from my point of view. But I think many people watching it will probably think, no, hang on a minute, leave the guy alone. If he's playing, he's enjoying these hits and things and making these rash moves, then he should do it. So I think people will probably want you to stay a Maverick, but. No, for you to decide.
My peace of mind has got to be. I've got to improve. I need to get the 3 points.
Well, if you need some advice from a proper Maverick, we've got one here. So we've got Luke. Luke's joined us again. So Luke, we did a video of you earlier in the season. You went Salahless, amazing, and then you wildcarded after game week 1, and so. You got 70 points. You played your wild card. You removed Aguero and Mane, but you stocked up on some other areas. You stocked up on a lot of players that people are going to want, particularly Hazard. So take us through your decision to wild card and some of the players you've got in, and more importantly for our viewers and listeners, these kind of players, why you think they should be getting them in as well.
Right, okay, yeah. It's a bit of a rant, guys, so I hope you're prepared.
Get the tea ready.
I'm ready.
Well, obviously, we did the rate my team with you, and you obviously saw my team. It had Mendy and it had Shaw in. It didn't have Richarlison, but Jota and Richarlison were rotating a lot in it. Obviously, had Aguero, had Mane. And I did the usual thing that I bet a lot of people did minutes before the deadline, all that hard work out the window, took out Mendy out of my team despite bigging him up the whole of the season. Like, he's going to be great. He's going to be the best player like in the league, pretty much all over my Twitter. Took him out, and I did okay game week 1, but it was really hard to take when Shaw scores a goal, when Mendy does that, gets a massive score. Richarlison, he does well. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, it's really hard to take. All those players are now going up in price. I want all of them. It's not like it is knee-jerk, but to an extent, I had them moments beforehand, and it's like I still want them now after I've just seen that evidence, and I'm not going to be able to get them all at the same price. And I think being a Sky player, like predominantly, you plan really far ahead in that game, and that's often been my downfall in FPL. I look really far ahead, and I think FPL lends itself to being a lot more short term in a lot of particular instances, especially because of the price rises. Essentially, you win if you lose because at least you get some money by reacting. So I thought, well, I'm just going to play aggressively. I want to be happy with my team. I'm not happy without Mendy, without Richarlison, without these people. So I'm going to wildcard. So I made the decision to wildcard early. Picked a lot of those players that I really liked, like Mendy, etc. Obviously had Aguero in his captain because they're home to Huddersfield. He's absolutely, he's amazing. I love him. I was never going to go the Salah route. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I've got a wildcard. I've picked people like Leicester. I went for Maddison, as you'll be pleased to know. Thought, yeah, this guy looks good. He looks the business. Got Chilwell in because I was really impressed with him. And I thought, well, originally I was going to go Shaw, but I thought, to be honest, I still think he's going to get dropped at some point. And I think Chilwell moving forward will be a better option with those fixtures. So I thought, right, I'll go for him. Picked all my team, and then obviously this news, well, not news, comes out about the Aguero not starting. So I'm kind of different to you guys. I kind of thought there's often no smoke without fire in some way. I know it wasn't reputable. I looked at it myself. I thought, where's this come from? But then that Jose Alvarez retweeted it twice, and he's known to be in the know, especially when it comes to
he's someone I was keeping my eye on because he is a genuine in the know.
Yeah, exactly. Then I saw the baller tweets as well. And I thought, well, this is perfect for me anyway, because I'm on a wild card. So, to be honest, it's win-win for me. Everyone's weighing up Salah captain or Aguero captain. But all I've seen is that essentially Aguero might be dropped. So if I go with a 1 week punt for Jesus, I've got a nailed on pretty much as far as we can tell. Maybe alongside Aguero, maybe not. Home to Huddersfield striker. I'm thinking, great. I go with the game week 1 information that Sterling, who I would have had him in my team from day one if I knew that he was going to be back from the World Cup and playing. Clearly with the information we had leading up into game week 2, Sterling looked like he was going to be the best midfield option. Basically a striker. I'm thinking, this is great. I'm going to have captain Sterling, for safety at home to Huddersfield that no one's got. I'm going to have Jesus as a 1 week punt who could become Aguero straight after that because I'm assuming Aguero is going to come straight back in. I'm thinking, wow, Saturday comes. I get like 40 something points. I look down everyone else's team. They're on like between 6 and like 20, 25 occasionally. I'm sat on 40 points. I'm thinking, this is amazing. My team's great. Every single one of my players did amazing. They all scored points.
As soon as you get that feeling, you know.
I know. And it's exactly what it was. I looked at that.
No, it's downhill from there.
This is too good to be true. I knew it from that point. Something is going to go awry here. And then when the team sheet come out, I wasn't too gutted about Aguero because I always thought it was a possibility he could start. I always thought that. But Jesus was starting, so I was like, well, he could quite easily match him. He could do well, but obviously the Sterling captain and him being dropped was like.
But captaining Sterling as well, just the very notion of it, anyway, is
well. Like I didn't think Liverpool would do anything away to Palace particularly. It turns out it was reasonably comfortable 2-0. They did well, but Palace were a really good side, and I couldn't see the argument for really captaining a Liverpool player. I mean, Man City home to Huddersfield. I know it was 0-0 last season, but I just think this season is a different beast. Man City look incredible. Huddersfield, to me, look like they're going to get relegated. They're going to get smashed. They're going to get thumped.
But even though you did that captain, the kind of maverick move worked because then your vice captain was Mendy, who got 8 points, which I think is great because I look at that and I think, kind of what would I do? Because it's really interesting when people have different styles. And I look at your team because you've got Eriksen there, you've got Hazard, and you've got Richarlison. And for me, because I'm a dullard, I would have gone for Eriksen as my vice captain or my captain out of your collection there, and that would have been awful because he only got 2 points, and I never would have considered Mendy. And I think that's the difference between the type of manager you are, the type of manager I am, and perhaps many others as well, is that I don't even entertain the thought of captaining the likes of Mendy and Alonso. For you though, not a problem.
Well, it was just born out of the thought that I was so certain that Man City were going to thump Huddersfield, which it turned out to be. So I thought, well, I have to have a vice captain. I can't be 100% on Jesus because it's a 1 week punt. So Sterling, I'm pretty sure of, and then obviously I'll go for Mendy's my only other City player. So I got a little bit lucky there, to be honest. I hold myself lucky because Sterling didn't come on, and completely ruin it, which could have been a catastrophe. But I still ended up with 70 points. So considering I have no Mane, no Salah, no Aguero as captain, that speaks volumes, I think, for how well my team did as a whole. Essentially, they all scored quite a lot of points. But obviously, it was hard to take because my original wildcard team had Aguero in his captain and Mane instead of Sterling. So I would have sat here on like 120 something points if I didn't take that article for it.
You can't go woulda, shoulda, coulda. And I actually like your wildcard team. Unlike when Mark famously came on last season and we were very, very cruel about his wildcard team.
Well,
it was myself and Granville, basically. I do actually like your team because it's got that nice mixture. It's kind of got a nice mixture of Leicester as well, who are looking quite good value, a lot of their players, and Hazard picker. Like Hazard is a player I really want game week 4 when he's at home to Bournemouth. But we're going to talk about Chelsea later. We're going to come up to the community question. I just wanted to say as well that you're not the only one who's been taking an early wildcard. Mark, I hear, has also wildcarded this week, and I'm currently negotiating with him hard to interview him later in the week. So there'll be a separate video, we hope, later this week, which Mark will reveal his wildcard thinking as well. So yeah, on to the community questions. So Arsenal players. Now Luke hasn't got any Arsenal players, so you might consider getting some. So perhaps some food for thought here. So Karen and VS10, who are the best Arsenal players to get? Pat Deevy Aubameyang was my target in game week 3, said. After 2 defeats and no goals from him, I'm not so sure, but what do we think? And Corin likes the look of Mkhitaryan, and he's considering him. And Zuma's Bloomers asked, will Lacazette gets minutes? And I know David might have something to say about that because he has Lacazette. The reason we're asking this, Arsenal's next few fixtures: West Ham at home, Cardiff away, Newcastle away, Everton at home, Watford at home. It's amazing. It's a fantastic run as well there. So I mean, I'm going to come to David first on this one because you've got Lacazette, or you perhaps no longer have Lacazette, but you certainly did do until a day or so ago. But what about for you with Arsenal players? Are you keeping Lacazette? Are you interested in any others? And what other Arsenal players would you recommend?
Yeah, I'm in an iron about Lacazette. I mean, the reason I stuck him in at the beginning of the season was what pre-season was telling us was that in theory he could match Aubameyang. They basically scored the same number of goals, and Lacazette did it in slightly less minutes. Sadly, that meant in the end the fact that he did it in less minutes meant that he was going to get actual less minutes in the season. So yeah, it's a tricky one because we were talking earlier when we recorded the captain video. Like, is there a case for him to come into the team because they've lost 2 in a row? And to be honest, I don't know. I think what Arsenal's problem's been is obviously their tough fixtures, but anyone's going to look ordinary in attack against Man City because Chelsea did in the Community Shield, and then they've obviously won their next 2, scoring 6 goals in 2. And then against Chelsea, like they did cause problems. So in attack, do they really need to change much? I don't know. I mean, we know that Ozil might be a bit under threat, so maybe he could come in for him. But they're still scoring goals. Where they're having their problems is at the back. So whether or not Lacazette comes in, I don't know if we have anything to suggest that he would. For me, it might just have to be a case of waiting for the press conferences, because if there's a suggestion that Lacazette's going to play, then I'd probably keep him because what we saw over pre-season and the back end of last season, that when he does play, he does get involved. I mean, that's my personal situation. I mean, if you're sat there with no Arsenal cover at the moment, obviously the easiest one to get in is Mkhitaryan. And obviously, as he showed against Chelsea, got a goal and assist in that particular game. Like he's got form, and he's got a good link up with Aubameyang. He's the easier one to get in. I really like Aubameyang though. So I mean, what we saw at the end of last season, I think it was 10 goals in 12 games, something like that. He was showing the form that was worthy of being a premium striker, and that miss against Chelsea sucks, but he's a quality player.
If you had a blank slate now, Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan be the ones you advise getting.
And, if I was wildcarding, I get those 2.
And what about you, Luke? You haven't got any Arsenal. I don't think you've got any Arsenal on your side, but no. Considering any, or are you playing a bit more of a cautious game, waiting to see how they're going to pan out?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that. I don't know. I know they've had really hard games, but Arsenal, I think they're still trying to work out, their style and the new manager and stuff. And I just think that there's a lot of players I don't really trust. I don't really know for sure who's going to be playing. I mean, Mkhitaryan wasn't necessarily, seen as nailed up until this point. It looks like he's getting there because he's performed pretty well. But I don't know. It's just Aubameyang is going to be great. He's going to score points. He always has scored goals wherever he's gone. But it's 11 million. It's the same price as Aguero. And I think, well, on current evidence, I think Aguero is the better option. So unless you're going with both of them, which I could understand, it doesn't really necessarily appeal to me. And then the defence is just so all over the place at the moment that you could make one argument to say, well, they're going to have to score goals to win matches, so don't worry about it. But I also think that takes something away. When you're having to focus on defending so much, the mistakes, the ball's all over the place, it's back and front, I think it's going to upset them. I don't fully trust Arsenal. I think there's going to be games in there, easy games, that they will lose. I think they'll just concede goals and they'll panic. They won't be able to get back into it. So for me, I kind of want to wait. The man I really wanted was Ramsey, but then the random benching of him, well, not necessarily random, threw that decision out of the way. So I mean, for me, Mkhitaryan would be the one. I think he is underpriced if he plays all the time. But there's a lot going on there at the moment. The whole Ozil thing definitely looks like he might be even trying to get phased out or a kick up the bum or something. I don't know. But Lacazette, I mean, home to teams like West Ham, I probably think he might start him. But do you want that headache?
It's almost like a crying shame, isn't it? You've got all these players. Ramsey, a player I really rate, and then they just might get benched and they're playing in a weird position or something. Oh, it's just like Wenger times all over again. But yeah, what about you, Az? Arsenal, anyone there, Peel?
Well, I think it's quite an easy decision. I mean, I've already moved to Mkhitaryan this week. I did that Saturday night, which was a pretty risky transfer, but I got rid of Sigurdsson because he was going down. I wanted to get rid of him. I can't see any option but Mkhitaryan in that team. I think he mixed game against Chelsea. Awful defensively. I thought there's a few times where he wasn't tracking back. The first half an hour, I thought, God, if he carries on playing like this, he's not going to be in the team next week because I was watching him to see if I was going to bring him in. But then he just offers so much up front. He was I don't know how many chances he created, but he was so attacking. But it just looked brilliant. Should have had 2 goals, I think. And for 7 million, I mean, there's no player in the game, I don't think, there's better value than Mkhitaryan with these fixtures going forward at 7 million. I mean, that is just crazy. And you haven't got Ramsey, you haven't got Aubameyang because you're going to have Aguero. Lacazette, I think, will play in the games coming, so I think he's going to be an option, but he's not an option right away. And that West Ham game looks, like a gold dust, I think, for Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about their run, and I agree with Mkhitaryan. The last 2 games, he's created 7 chances of 5 goal attempts. That chances is key because he's pretty much the only one who's creating anything in that side. So you're talking about assists there, and the fact he's got 5 goal attempts and he scored 1. And I like this, multiple routes to points here. His minutes per baseline bonus, which is when you basically strip away goals, assists, and clean sheets. This is basically walking on the pitch and doing their stuff. So he's getting minutes per baseline bonus. He's got every 6 minutes per baseline bonus there, which is great. That's good. I like him a lot, and he's on my watch list definitely.
I think a lot of people have got an easy route into him because if you've got Bernardo Silva, 7.5, he played at right wing back. Yeah, you can't be carrying a City midfielder who's playing at right wing back, and even if he doesn't play at right wing back, we don't know where he's going to play now. De Bruyne's out; he could be that deep lying kind of playmaker assist. He's always been a bit of an assister of the assister, and I think now he might be even more of that. And I think
sister of the assister,
sister of this is even worse. A sister of the but. Yeah, I think that isn't a sideways move. I think that is a big upgrade.
Yeah, okay. I mean, this is pretty consensus here. Is that Mkhitaryan? Yes. Aubameyang, maybe. I mean, for me, it's all about flexibility of formation because I'm really boring and dull and look at these things. And I've got Aguero up front, and if I got Aubameyang and Aguero, suddenly my team's going to look pretty poor elsewhere. So I'm not keen on both, but other people may well be. So moving on to Chelsea, we've got Karen and VS10 again. Same question about Chelsea there. And Dom J. Alonso is the player he's looking at. Is he a must-have? Or Som is also very keen. Alonso should be now part of the template, really, which also features Mendy and Robertson. And Mike Harborough, again, our friend, can Alonso's attacking points, even in playing in a back four, justify the goals Chelsea are going to leak playing Sarri ball? So what he's alluding to there is the fact they do seem pretty porous at the back. But what they're also figuring into is the great fixtures. Chelsea got Newcastle away, Bournemouth at home, Cardiff at home. I mean, that's a great run, isn't it? Especially that Bournemouth-Cardiff home games. West Ham away, and then Liverpool at home. So it gets a bit dicey towards the end of that. But it's a nice little run there. I mean, come straight back to you on this one, Az. So you've gone in with Mkhitaryan. What about Chelsea? Got any Chelsea players? Considering any? If so, which ones?
I've got David Luiz purely for this run. I can't actually remember on fantasy football in all the years I've played there being so many teams with this good a run of games. It's crazy. I mean, Palace have got an amazing run as well. You look at the ticker; it's all blue. Palace, Arsenal, City fixtures are incredible. Chelsea fixtures are incredible. It's there's a lot of options. Leicester as well. Yeah, it is. You know, it is very exciting. Yeah, I went with David Luiz. You know, he took a free kick against Arsenal. That was exciting. Didn't go in. That was a shame. I've been getting some stick because I said in the first Scoutcast that Alonso wasn't going to be an option this season.
Nostalgia pick, isn't he?
I know.
We all said it, to be fair.
You
the
have little faith, though. You know, he's one of my favorite players of all time. You know, just didn't think he'd play that far forward, and he hasn't even had any free kicks yet. So I think, you know, a lot of people that I know who have got Alonso have said, you know, he might be less attacking in general, but he's still got those kind of set plays to draw back on. He hasn't even needed those yet. He's still attacking, getting assists and goals. So yeah, I think he's a great pick. Yeah, Hazard, like you say, Morata, you know, got his goal. 9 million, great run of games.
I had a look of shock then. The same look that when I suggested Kanté last week that you had.
Well, you don't know. I mean, he seems to me a player who, you know, he's lost confidence, but, you know, he's got a goal. He's obviously got the backing of Sarri. So if he gets a run of starts, on his day, he's a world-class striker. That's why they paid £70 million for him. I think if he can get his confidence back, and, you know, he's got the players around him to help him do that, he could definitely become a factor in the next few weeks if he carries on.
Well, I think Newcastle and Bournemouth are a good indication. You probably maybe want to get him for Bournemouth. I think Newcastle, perhaps. Okay, I'll reserve judgment on Morata. Let's give him an audition at Newcastle.
Yeah, I agree.
See how it goes.
Yeah, I think so. It's a tricky fix for them as well. Newcastle, Chelsea, they do struggle. They do struggle there. So if he gets a goal against them, I think that will definitely help him.
What about you, Luke? Now you've gone way in. You've just gone straight to the top. No messing around. Hazard or bust, and there he is in your team. Now, you must be pretty pleased because I think a lot of people are going to want him in a week or two. So. Anyone else joining him, and just explain a bit more about why you went for Hazard? Why is it that he's a player you think is a must-have at the moment?
Well, again, see, I'm planning too far ahead. It's the old thing I do in FPL. But yeah, it's just, to be honest, Hazard's always been one of my favourite players. He's been under defensive coaches. I watched him at the World Cup. I thought he was, you know, probably one of the top 2 players at the World Cup. Thought this guy's incredible. We just need a little bit of end product from him, a little bit more anyway. Obviously, he's still scored fantastically well in other FPL seasons before. So I just put that together and thought, I'm just going to have him in because I want him in my team. I like owning, you know, the players that I like watching. So yeah, he's in there. And I think hopefully he is going to be great. I mean, he's only played about 40 minutes and he's got 2 assists so far, I think. So it's looking good, certainly for him. And obviously, we think he's probably still going to be on penalties. So I think he'll get quite a few of those. When it comes to Morata, I wouldn't necessarily be interested yet. I always think he's going to share minutes with Giroud, not only in starts, but he's always going to come off early as well. So I think he has to score an absolute boatload to even start being that nailed-on guy, which at the moment I don't really see happening. Of course, he's got the fixtures, but Newcastle are a random team. They sometimes put out performances against these big guns, so I wouldn't be surprised if they suddenly turn up.
I mean, David, you've been looking at the press conferences and what Sarri's been saying. It seems likely, isn't it, that Hazard possibly might not start or get significant minutes against Newcastle, but it could be Bournemouth is his time. Is that the correct interpretation so far?
Yeah, I mean, what we seem to be getting from Sarri is that he explicitly said after game week 1 that like Hazard just isn't capable of playing 90 minutes yet, and that the only reason he came on, what was it, like the last 20 minutes against Huddersfield, was just because they were 2-0 up, Huddersfield were tired, and like one of you guys said, like they can't just look like a team that are going down. So like, why not bring him on last 20 minutes and let him have a go? And obviously it's worked out. Different sort of situation against Arsenal was a bigger game and what have you. Yeah, it just kind of sounds like he's just not quite ready yet. And like what they've got going on the wings to start games is doing well. Like Pedro's got 2 and 2. Willian's been quite influential from set pieces, for example. So like, it's not like they need him back now. Obviously they got 6 points in the bag. So yeah, he's probably one of those players we're going to want in a few weeks' time. So it makes sense to have him now. But also, like, you know, even if he's not starting, I mean, he's 2 assists and 2, so he's still returning. But yeah, in terms of starts,
it's a bit weird though, doesn't it? He's not ready to play.
Well, I mean,
it's fine. I reckon it's something to do with.
Yeah, he's a top athlete. What's he playing at?
Well,
going to something about Madrid. There's something weird going on there. I think if he doesn't start against Newcastle, I don't believe it's anything.
Maybe he's just a special, delicate flower that needs extra time. Whereas like Raheem Sterling just gets off the plane, kit already on. Right, boss,
Sterling.
where's the ball? I'm on. And,
don't mention Sterling from the loop.
No. Yeah, well, no, he was ready. Game week 1, impressed.
Yeah, there's a vanity.
Hazard, he's wrapped up in bed with the sniffles. Saying, pass me a tissue, sorry.
I think Pedro is a good pick, I think, because Willian will probably lose his place, won't he? Because he's absolute pants. And then Pedro, he's scoring. He's 6.5, 6.6, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think before the season, he got a new contract. Sarri's been talking him up, and he's justified it. So I think I watched Sarri, and he looks like this kind of like old guy, doesn't he? You kind of like your granddad. You really want to kind of have him put his arm around you and sort of say nice things to you. And he's done that with Pedro, and I think Pedro's really responded well to it.
Not smelling like that. I wouldn't want him anywhere near me. He must stink.
blowing smoke into his face. Go on, lad, on you get.
That reminds me of my days, my granddad. But yeah, no, and I think that kind of, because I mean Pedro's had a rough time at Chelsea. I think he never really looked comfortable or happy. He's always been talking about going back to Spain and things. And if now he's actually happy, he's a great player. He was fantastic at Barcelona. So it'd be good to see him get a run in the side and actually do well on his potential.
I mean, I agree with you about Pedro. I'm kind of playing wait and see. I want to see Hazard starting. I want to see if it's Willian or Pedro dropped. I agree. It looks like it's going to be Willian. And Pedro is a player I like. I mean, so far, he's top for goal attempts. 7 shots for Chelsea players in just a couple of games, and 2 goals as well. So he's getting the shots. It's not like an unsustainable amount of goals that he's been scoring. So that bodes well. Hazard, obviously, I want an assurance that he's not going to pop off to Real Madrid or something before the European transfer window closes. Alonso I like as well. I'm kind of giving them all a bit of an audition in Newcastle, really. I think the Bournemouth and Cardiff home games, I think, is the key time to get them. If you're going to get them for that. If you're going to wait until after the Bournemouth game, then you're looking at just the Cardiff home game, West Ham away, and then Liverpool at home. So it suddenly goes from like being an excellent bunch of games to like an okay bunch of games. So that's my thoughts on them, really. But yeah, I like Pedro, Hazard, Alonso for me.
I also think Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic, is that how you say it? Yeah, I think those 3 are going to hold the ball for days. I think there's going to be teams that are going to struggle to get it off of them.
I mean, I'll just bring in Kante because I mentioned him last week as well, so I didn't want to go on too much about him again. But yes, he's a top enabler, I think. So it all depends if I need an enabler. I think he's great. So he's had 4 goal attempts here, 4 shots inside the box, proving how awful he is at shooting. Just one of those was on target. But, you can't argue that. He is getting forwards. And against, well, come on, let's be fair to Cardiff. They're rubbish. So, against the likes of them, they're going to could do well. But anyway, on to Liverpool. Can Mane cover Salah? That's a question a lot of people have been wondering. One of the reasons is that we'll be looking at Salah for 13 million, not on penalties, can't get bonus, and there's better scoring options, perhaps. Like every time I say this, I get a lynch mob of people with torches and pitchforks outside my house because Salah's like godlike status. But David, we spoke about this earlier as well. So, I mean, people watch that video as well, but very briefly, I mean, what's the thinking here? Can Mane outscore Salah?
Yeah, I'm exactly like you. I don't want at this stage to just outright say yes, because it does feel like the Spanish Inquisition would just completely start again if we started saying don't get Salah. But I think he can do it. As we discussed earlier, so like we'll have a bit more detail in that video. Yeah, Salah has more shots, so like that is still kind of unmatchable because he just shoots for days. He's had 10 shots so far. Mane's had 6. But the crucial thing, and this is where I think that he can match him, is that when you filter those total shots by in the box and then on target, Mane is exactly the same. So of Salah's 10 shots, 6 have been in the box. Of Mane's 6 shots, all 6 of them have been in the box. Then in terms of on target, it's 4 apiece. So in terms of accuracy, Mane is obviously more accurate. So Salah's is 4 shots on target out of possible 10, which is actually kind of in keeping with his accuracy from last year. So this is where, fine, we're only 2 weeks in, but actually the accuracy that he's showing right now isn't massively different from 45% from last season. So that tells me that he as a player hasn't really I don't want to say hasn't improved because he is a good player. He hasn't gone downhill. He's just exactly as he was. The big difference is he costs more money. Whereas Mane's accuracy is much higher. So why not? And you say 3.5 million. I mean, I don't want to say don't have Salah. I'm going to have both. For me, that's the best way to go. If you're not going to have Salah, you have to have Mane. You have to have him.
Luke, if you haven't got Salah, you have to have Mane or have Salah. Anyway, you've got neither. So why have you got neither, and how confident are you at not having either?
Well, I did have Mane, obviously, and I did the whole not having Salah, and I was going to have Mane instead. And I said I don't see any reason why Mane can't match Salah being on the opposite wing. And so far, it seems to have improved, right? I mean, it's only 2 games, so you have to take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not that confident. Obviously, Mane's great. But for me, it's more about, you can't really talk about, I don't really like the word cover. I mean, getting both of them is a great example. It is a great thing for a start. But I mean, you can't really talk about Salah without talking about captaincy. I mean, the fact that, just logically with the money, and even psychologically, when you look at all that money on your team, you feel like he has to be in the captain equation. And obviously, he becomes better value when you captain him, just because of his extortionate price. So I don't know. I think if you're one of these people who's got a Twitter handle and you want to finish in the top 10k every year, and you want to put a certain percentage and stuff, the smart play is just to have Salah. He's owned by 50%. You're paying for that consistency. As we've shown already, he's scored points in both the games he's played. You sit back and you put your captain armband on him. It takes that decision out of it. As soon as you step out of that, you're stepping into my world, the captain lottery. And
the world of the Maverick, the planet of the Mavericks.
Well, exactly. I mean, and the thing is, if you look at it for the 2 weeks so far, there will be someone out there who has captain Mane game week 1, which is what I was going to do and changed it to Aguero. And then captain Aguero game week 2, which, again, I was going to do, and then wildcarded him out because of the news story. So that person's sitting probably above whoever's been captain in Salah on those 2 days. And that's great. But the thing is, you're more likely to get the captaincy decision wrong, like I have, and therefore, drop into the sewer rather than reach for the stars. So that's kind of just the way I like to play. I like to give myself the chance of going really high up. The thing is, it's probably going to go a bit Pete Tong. Salah's absolutely fantastic. If you want to maintain a high rank and that's the thing you want to do, then yeah, by all means, I would just go Salah and just stick with it. But it's only 2 weeks of data at the end of the day. Mane could have just had a great 2 games. We don't really know, truthfully yet.
What about you, Az? I mean, some people have been saying to me that their fixtures aren't that good coming up. So after Brighton, they've got, looking down their list, Liverpool have. I mean, they're quite low down the list, I think, because I've sorted by fixture difficulty. So this is an indication I have to go down a bit. So after Brighton, we've got Leicester away, Tottenham away, Southampton at home. That's good. Then Chelsea away. I mean, what do you think of those fixtures? Because you've got Salah and Mane, I believe.
Yeah.
Are you looking to perhaps move one on with those fixtures?
No. Well, I mean, with Liverpool, how I've looked in the last few years, you basically to flip their fixture difficulty list. When they've got City and Tottenham and Arsenal, they should be blue because they score bucket loads of goals against the top sides.
That's when they come alive.
I've been worried about these games against the bottom end of the table people, and they've come through those. So imagine what they're going to do against the big guys now. I just think people are getting a bit carried away. Mane is not going to. Mane isn't capable of scoring 32 goals in a season. He's just not. He's never gonna reach those heights. He's never gonna be like Salah was last year. I mean, Mane had pretty much all of last season to attempt to match Salah and couldn't do it. And it doesn't look to me like much has changed with Liverpool. I still think it's Salah.
He was injured for a large part of last season, though.
Yeah, but would he have got 20 extra goals?
It's more to the point. Can Salah get the same amount of goals that he did?
I think he can. I can't see any reason why he can't. I mean, if you're looking at points, if you're looking at FPL points, he's 2 games in. He's averaging the same points that he got last season. If he keeps that up all season, he's probably gonna break his own record again.
Well, as David was saying, his underlying stats are on par with last season. So it may look like Mane's outscoring him. Well, he is technically outscoring him, but at the same time, it's looking like Salah's still got that promise of points.
Because I saw Milner take that penalty. My first thought was, oh God, I'm paying 14 million for a player who's not taking penalties. That looks how many penalties he scored last year, and I think it was one.
Yeah,
one penalty.
One. scored one. Everyone saw I think perhaps people saw the Egypt one and thought, well, okay, that's a Liverpool one. But no,
He doesn't need penalties. That's the key, isn't it? Like,
No,
Exactly. That's what I mean. He doesn't need penalties. He's the
just-
focal point of the most attacking team in the league.
I mean, I'm going to throw something else in when it comes to Liverpool players, and this is a thing that people hate because they just like to talk about players and footballing skills. And I look at them as just little shirts on a map that have prices on them and also have ownership. And I look at Mane's 33% ownership now. I noticed his goal on this week on Monday. I benefited from the Salah captaincy points, but I didn't benefit as much as I could have done ranking wise because so many people have Mane and I don't own him. He scored that goal. And I think who is the player I don't own who I fear? And it's Mane at the moment. And I think that's going to be definitely the same at home to Brighton. I think that's going to be the same away to Leicester. I think it's going to be possibly at Tottenham and definitely at home at Southampton. He's a player I want. He's top of my shopping list. So I mean, I'm going to go all in, complete opposite of Luke, and I'm going to follow Az's lead here because he's doing better than me. So I think I think that I'm just looking at that massive ownership. And I just play.
It just makes sense, doesn't it? I mean,
you just play the game. You've got to play the game like that.
You don't want to be watching a Liverpool match with only Salah. You want as many options in that team as you can, and Mane is the best. I mean, Firmino's not an option, I don't think, this year.
No.
Yeah, he's miles behind in the way he's playing. I think it's like 2 goal attempts so far, none on target.
Because you know that some people are going to be trying clever, and they're going to try and get Firmino in to cover Mane. You know, so there's going to be some people like they've just got Firmino and haven't got Mane. So you're always going to gain points.
Are you telling me Firmino at the end of the season is not going to be right up there for the strikers for value? He's the top. He's the focal point at the top of probably the team that's going to score the most or second most goals in the season. He's going to be there or thereabouts.
He won't be. I don't think he will be.
I think I'm kind of with Luke here on this. I think we've been here before with Firmino. He started off well last season. Remember, he went on that huge barren run, and then it kind of ended. It broke. The rain came after the drought and game week 11, 12. And you could not shut him up. He was just scoring, assisting, getting bonus points. It was amazing.
He scores in patches, and he's one of those players you kind of just have to stick with, I think, and just ride it. Like similar to Alonso, he scored in the first couple of games, great for Chelsea. He might go 10 games without a goal. And then you look there and think it's 6.5 million. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot of money. I might have to move him out. But probably
his role's a little bit different this year, though, because he's got Cater making a lot more runs, and he's got there's other players around him now getting forward more. So he's dropping back even further.
You always drop back, but it's only 2 games though. I still think Firmino's going to be good value. I mean, Mane's going to be probably better value. I don't disagree there, but I still think Firmino's going to be good.
Well, he's a striker playing for Liverpool. He's going to 10 goals, 10 assists, something like that.
You didn't think he was an option. He is an option.
I don't think.
I don't think he is now.
Because I think you've got the 3. You've got Mane, Salah, and Robertson, and I don't see how you can fit. I think you need those 3 players. So I don't see how Firmino fits into that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You've got to cover the Liverpool defence. Like, you just have to do that. And Robertson's definitely the best option. And if you're limited to 2 Liverpool attackers, it just has to be Mane and Salah right now. I mean, that might change because like we saw, like Firmino is capable of really long barren runs. But yeah, that's the way we're set up. We just got to cover that defence because it's incredible, like the way that's transformed in the last 6 months.
You're not worried about Shaqiri taking some minutes off him? He's not going to take him off salary, is he? So is it going to be Mane?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, once European football comes into it, that might change a lot of things. But obviously, we don't have that for a few weeks. So
no, Shaqiri's been bought with Champions League in mind, in that he could get those games, but more importantly, he could get the league games whilst the others are off to Europe. So yeah, because they were lacking a full squad, the ability to say, well, let's just put Shaqiri in, and they didn't have that type of option. So yeah, I mean, I think when Champions League starts, we're going to start seeing some rotation here, and that's when might be starting to have a look. Maybe Mane might get rested. I don't work for the Guardian. I haven't just said Mane's going to be rested, but I'm saying any of those players could be potentially on the Champions League because Klopp has the luxury of being able to do that this season, and I don't think he did last season. So I mean, what about Spurs? Now, not a lot of people are talking about Spurs options. We're all talking about all the teams that we just mentioned because of form and fixtures. So is there any room? So FPL Awesome wonders, with Aguero doing so well, Monster Hall over the weekend, Mane doing well, Salah's ownership above 50%, Aubameyang, player people are looking at, same with Hazard. Is this the end of the road for Harry Kane as a kind of a go-to premium asset? For him, he doesn't feel he's worth 12.5 when many of the others I've just mentioned are much less. And FPL Fredo asked the same thing as Aguero's hat-trick about him after, and Pep's comments about him afterwards killed the need for Harry Kane. And General Zod has popped out of the Phantom Zone purely for day release, presumably, to ask, with Eriksen having a deeper role and Trippier taking over some dead ball duties, is Eriksen worth holding on to? So he's really looking at these kind of premium players here. So, I mean, yeah, David, what about you? What's your feeling about Spurs players? Is there any room for the likes of Kane and Eriksen? Is it worth bothering with them?
Eriksen's the easier one for me to say no. Because that was the key thing that we were finding this week. Just Trippier just is wrestling those set pieces away from him, because that's what has been meat and drink for Eriksen, hasn't it? Like, if you're looking for the dullard approach, generally speaking, set pieces is where you go, isn't it? So
yeah, he's my pinup. Eriksen is my pinup. Massive mural on the side of my house of him. Yeah.
But so then when he loses that really does take away his value. And I mean, as an Englishman, I quite enjoy the fact that Trippier's done that in the World Cup semi-final, come back to Spurs and said to Eriksen, like, why don't I just take one, and then popped it in the goal. So, I mean, yeah, I think, obviously Trippier is kind of possibly worth thinking about, because if we're talking about these kind of premium defenders, if one of them is on set pieces, I mean, he's not going to do that every week, is he? But, he's taking corners as well. And they've got some aerial presence in there, largely from Harry Kane. Eriksen, definitely, I can say no to that. With Kane, I don't know, like we're all saying this because right now he's got 1 goal in 2 games, and it's August, which I hate saying because obviously the curse isn't real, but he does start slow. And as we said a lot of time last few weeks, I still think he's just not really at 100% anyway. I mean, the World Cup took a lot out of him sort of physically. He's a new dad, and speaking from experience, you don't get a lot of sleep when you're in that situation. So that could be a factor. I don't know. But if we're sat here after 2 games and Kane's bagged in 2 hat-tricks in a row, which he is fully capable of doing because he did that last season, then does that question come in? I don't know. Like, are we all sat here going, is there room for Mane, who's only scored 3 because Kane scored 6? So because Kane is capable of that, I can probably say no to him now because of the form, but I know that's going to change. I know that we're going to be in a few weeks' time panicking like, oh man, how do I get Kane in?
Yeah, you've got to be prepared. Be yogic. And so I keep saying, got to be. Yeah, I mean, the same with me. I'm always got a Kane entry plan ready. I haven't got one at the moment, but in my head, I've kind of, it's there. It's about to happen.
You need to do it.
I know I need to do it because I'm not expecting much of Manchester United away. Then Watford away, I am. That's his time. That's the kind of game week 4 or 5. That's when Kane starts to kick into gear. Liverpool at home, he did a number on them last season. That's a potential as well. Then Brighton away becomes a bit dodgy. Huddersfield away, that I like the look of as well. So I think we have to think in the back of our minds about getting Kane. Now, Luke, you could possibly, because you haven't got Salah, Kane's a possibility for you.
Yeah, he's definitely been in my thoughts. I love Harry Kane anyway. I don't think I've ever missed the Harry Kane haul in my life because I just stick with him no matter what. The only one I missed was that away hat trick to Chelsea when he was like brand new, 5 million or something, and no one expected that. He was on my bench. But apart from that, I think I've got everyone. But for me, more the concern with Kane has been since you saw the back end of last season when he got injured, he's just not quite looked the same player. Like he tailed off towards the end of that season after that injury. The World Cup, he showed it in little spurts, but there's points where he couldn't really run. And even at the beginning of this season, the last game he looked a little bit better, and I am encouraged, thinking maybe he's going to kick on from here. But the problem you got is just Aguero at 11 million with the form, and then you've got Aubameyang with the fixtures at 11 million. It's just very hard to find a place for Kane right now, you've already said. But the moment he starts scoring, he's an option, isn't he? I mean, the other option, I think, is just to get Trippier and just cover in a lot of probably assists that he's going to give to Kane, possible clean sheets and stuff. And I really like the look of him.
I mean, do we think there was a plenty of rotation last year with the fullbacks, and Pochettino has always done that. Do we think Trippier could get rotated annoyingly in easy games, perhaps?
Well, everything Pochettino's shown us is that he will get rotated almost despite his form. I think he's clearly the front runner. I don't think Ori is particularly up to the task, to be honest with you. But does that really matter? As long as he's not coming on and you've got a good squad, you spread the money around. I think he's probably a risk worth taking. I mean, anyone who saw him at the World Cup, he's probably one of our best players. So I just think he's going to get some really big calls. There's going to be games where he gets, a couple of assists and a clean sheet, max bonus. There's going to be games where he scores the odd goal from a free kick. He's going to have hauls in him, and he's 0.5 cheaper than Alonso, with arguably, from what we know from last season, a better defence. That may change, but so to me, I still think he's a good option as long as you've got good coverage on the bench, because he will miss the odd game.
And what about you, Az? You thinking of the rotating fullbacks, Kane entry plan?
At the start of the season, I was determined to avoid Spurs because I thought there's a lot. I mean, the stadium was always going to get pushed, but it was never going to happen when they said it would. So they got that kind of cut. I mean, no signings. Loads of players make the most players I think that made it to later stages of the World Cup coming back. So the first few weeks were always a bit of a wait and see. And I think now we're kind of blessed a bit because they've actually got a relatively tricky run. I mean, United away, Watford away, potentially good, but they're playing well. And then Liverpool, defensively much more resolute than last year, and then Brighton away. So I think those 4 games don't scream to me that there's going to be massive points in Spurs. I think the jewel in their crown so far this season has been Dele Alli. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. Unlucky not to have more points. Unlucky that Mane and Salah and Aguero and people have been doing well, because I think I think he'd be a fantastic option if you're looking for someone a bit different and you could find someone to get in. Eriksen to Ali, if you've got him, if you did want to be a bit different and not go for Mane, I think would be a good pick. Kane,
people are overlooking Ali.
I think so.
They think it's that old Eriksen Ali thing. You go for one, the other one scores, you get him in, then the other one scores, and you can just spend all your transfers just doing an Ali, Eriksen, okie dokie.
Eriksen though, I mean, losing free kicks are such a big part of Eriksen's game. You rely on, I don't know how many goals he gets a season, probably 8 or 9, something like that. Half of those are probably free kicks or from and his assists are all from free kicks. He doesn't score that many from open play, so if he's surrendering those up willingly, then he's a bit like Sigurdsson losing free kicks to Baines. As soon as I saw Baines taking those free kicks, I thought Sigurdsson's got to go, because that is Sigurdsson's appeal. And it's the same. It's the same with Eriksen. So,
yeah, I mean, I looked at the taking corners, for example. So when you've got a player like Harry Kane and you've got the centre backs that Tottenham have, you really want their corner taker. Game week 1 with Trippier not playing, Eriksen took 5 corners. Game week 2 with Trippier on the pitch, he took 1. While the England World Cup man, he took 4. So yeah, he's just gone. He's just snaffled them off him. I've got Eriksen. I looked at things like that. He's got to go. Just want to give a little plug to the early goals imminent table. Eriksen is on that, unfortunately for me, because I'm going to get rid of him. So he's had 7 goal attempts and no goals so far in 2 games. That's quite a lot of goal attempts. That's quite good, quite promising. Annoyingly, Kane has had 6 goal attempts and he scored from them. Kane is starting to build up. His underlying stats over the 2 games starting to build up. He's starting to get his game week 4-5 head on, and that's when everyone's gonna want him. So
it's what wildcards are for, isn't it? When
Kane, I think for me the Kane explosion is the wildcard time, because I do want so many other players. My Kane entry plan is probably just going to be wildcard.
Well, I'm looking at that Huddersfield game and I'm thinking what's that game week? Game week 7.
Yeah.
I think that's where he exploded last season, wasn't it? Was that one of the early games where him and Davis just tore it up?
Yeah, there was an Everton. Yes, it was a Huddersfield game, but there was also an Everton game where surprisingly,
that's right. Yeah,
he scored an accidental goal. I think it was a cross and it went in.
That's right. Yeah.
Nothing's accidental with Kane.
Nothing's accidental, but it was all planned. Yeah. It was all planned. But which, speaking of a bit earlier about the goals imminent table, brings me on to cheap strikers, because we've had lots of questions about that. Lots of people, Preyas Badgetgal and Jabe Palduco, are like many, including myself, who are very keen to dump Josh King. They've seen the underlying stats, they've seen the lack of anything, and so others might be looking for a cheap striker to invest in. So who are the best ones to go for? And I'm just going to come in first on this, because top of my goals imminent table is Az's man Mitrovic. I like the look of him a lot. He scored his goal. He's had 11 attempts. Only Aguero has had more shots than Mitrovic. And I think the Fulham fixtures look pretty nice, actually. Looking down, they've got Burnley at home coming up. With Burnley, have got European Olympiacos, I believe they play on Thursday. So they're going to be knackered. And so that's a good time for Fulham to face them. Brighton away, never know. Man City away, obviously not expecting too much there. But if you remember that famous Newcastle game against Manchester City, where Manchester City completely hammered the Magpies. I think it was 5-1. Well, who got the one? It was Mitrovic. So he was the only bright spark in that woeful Newcastle side back
Wasn't
then.
that when Aguero got 4?
That was when Aguero got
5?
4.
Was it 5?
5, 4.
I think it was...
He didn't stop. It was one of those Aguero. It was an Aguero mega haul, and so Mitrovic, we know he can do that. And then Watford at home, that's nice. Everton away, that's fine. We've seen Everton concede. I think it's a lovely run of games though. So cheap strikers, my top choice is Mitrovic. If I haven't got the money, which I haven't, I'm going to have to go Danny Ings. One of the reasons it was pointed out actually that Danny Ings. Actually, if you're into some bizarre rotation, he actually rotates quite well with Wan-Bissaka, who is now suspended for the next game. But this would be a part of that rotation. Danny Ings would be playing. And that rotation is basically lots and lots of home games against the likes of Southampton, Brighton, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Wolves, Bournemouth again, Newcastle again. So this is you get a nice run out of one of those two, and Wan-Bissaka will be back after a week. So I'm going to go to Az here because you'll probably want to mention Mitrovic as well. But is any other cheap strikers would you recommend?
How cheap are we talking?
Well, when I say cheap, I mean not the big guns really. So we can go kind of, I suppose, what people say mid-price. Let's go 7 or a bit over 7.
Let's go 7. Okay. Well, my main pick would be Mitrovic, as you mentioned. I think anyone who's still holding on to Josh King needs to be looking to move him on. Just because he's never been the same since he was reclassified as a forward, and I think he's a forward in disguise. So I think he needs, and I think the switch to Mitrovic or Ings would be an easy one to make because they're the same price, or Ings is cheaper. Zaha, I still feel a bit weird about Zaha. I don't really like him as an FPL option, and I'll probably get slated for that because I always do. But he's one of those players. He looks absolutely brilliant, really tricky, but I do wonder how many goals he's capable of getting for Palace. That said, I really like how Palace have set up at the beginning of this season with Benteke and Zaha. I think they really are all out to get the most out of Zaha, and I think if Zaha is really going to catapult himself onto like top FPL forward type style, then he's got the best run of games to do it coming up. So I think anyone who's, I think people are selling Zaha because he blanked against Liverpool. I think he's one of the top transfers out or something. But
I had someone on Twitter saying, should I sell Zaha?
I said, you should be bringing him in.
Look at the fixtures and then just say no because pointless. What about you, David? That kind of 7 million and below striker who tickles your fancy there.
Danny Ings is the big one for me. I know I've obviously already mentioned him, but when I first noticed him was what he did in 34 minutes against Burnley. He came on for 34 minutes and had 4 goal attempts, which is just mad. So then it's 4 goal attempts in basically a cameo appearance there. Then 6 goal attempts in the next game, and obviously scored as well. And if it wasn't for that fantastic Pickford save, now it's 2 goals. And then obviously you've mentioned the nice rotation as well. Brighton at home, obviously. They look like the team if you can catch them in a home game and go for it. I've got King and I'd probably move him on. The only thing with King is his underlying stats aren't great. With a few other things I'm looking at in my squad, he's got a good history against Everton, and Everton particularly bad at the back. I might give him one more week. I don't know. We'll see. But Ings is definitely the one for me. Just those underlying numbers, the amount of shots he's having. And I've just always liked him as a player. He's so energetic. Like he's one of these players who's just really direct and just goes at people. It's a good player to have, really. I
was just going to say, I noticed. I did a little table about shots in the box in per minute. So he's having a shot in the box every 15 minutes. That's the top. So that's better than Aguero. That's better than all the rest. So I know it's only 2 games. It seems weird. We're going on all these stats, 2 games, but I like the look of him. I like his price. So he's performing like a 6.57 million striker in terms of those underlying stats so far. So that for me says good value.
What a few years ago as well. Like he was at Burnley. He had a season like that, didn't he? So
he had
Nice
the
to see him come the
injury,
other side of the injury, yeah.
you know, and he couldn't get a look into that Liverpool front line. Yeah, what about you, Luke? You've got is it Zaha you've got in your starting lineup?
I've got Arnautovic because it was
Oh,
obviously
Arnautovic.
wild card and he had the better fixture. But
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Arnautovic, so
yeah, well, I mean, I still think he's a great option. Obviously, looks like he's on penalties as well. I still think he's going to score pretty well. He's so direct. He's quite selfish, and yeah, I think he'll be up there. I still think I can't look past Zaha and Arnautovic. I think Zaha. I don't think Az has given him enough credit there. I think he looks like he's developed to me. He's a bit of a tank these days as well. I just really, really like him. I wouldn't be surprised if he does score a boatload of goals for Palace. They're just like a great team at the moment, great fixtures, and he's their focal point.
He's never got more than 10 goals. I was looking at in a season.
It's only since he came back from his injury last season where he started really sort of playing right off the front, and he kind of looks a different player to me. I mean, at the end of the day, he's developing. You can't expect people to stay still all the time, and I honestly think he's upped his game. I mean, this season will be the catch one, really. I think if he does really well this season, he's probably well, I know he's just signed a new contract, hasn't he? But I think people are sniffing around him because he just looks like
it was quite big that contract sign. I think it definitely.
Well, yeah, again, because they want to get a lot of money for him or something. You don't know, do they? At the end of the day, if his performances are that good, someone's going to come in for him. That's the end of the day. And I think he's I really like him. I really rate him. I can't really get behind Ings. I can understand the appeal because he's so cheap, but I just think Southampton are trash, and it's just a small window that we're looking at there. I also don't trust him injury wise. I just think as soon as he gets injured and you've got your whole structure around him, who do you turn to? It just to me screams of a nightmare at some point. So I don't really like that. Mitrovic has surprised me, to be honest. I only really knew about him when he was in the Premier League before. I didn't really watch Championship with him involved. And from what I knew before, he didn't really look that good to me. But in the games I've seen him so far, he's looked the real part. Fulham looked like a real box of, a bag of tricks in both boxes. The keeper's making saves all over the place. Strikers having shots all over the place. They look like a fun team to own someone. It's good.
Yeah, I think they're always. I think a lot of people have a soft spot for Fulham. Really, there's something about them. But
as a Reading fan, I don't. Their great escape was at the expense of Reading, so I can never love them. Sorry.
Clint Dempsey hat tricks. He's always going to be in our thoughts.
Well, that's true.
Well, let's look ahead to what we're going to be doing next week. So let's have a look at our transfer plans and captaincy choice. So we'll go with you, David, first. So you got 2 free transfers.
Yes.
And so are you going to use them both? And if so, who and who's your captain?
I would love to just use one and just kind of keep rolling it, but I think I probably need to make 2 because I think a lot of people have saved their transfers with a mind of, maybe making 2 transfers or maybe 3, play the mini wildcard and jump on a couple of the bandwagons that they maybe missed at the beginning of the season. I'm captaincy easy. That's Salah. Like that's not going to change for me. The fixture's too good. I don't trust the City rotation away from home, so I can't really look at Aguero. So that's an easy one. In terms of transfers, I am undecided. There's a number of things I could do. I like the idea of moving Lacazette on, possibly to Ings, to then free up some money to upgrade Lennon into Mkhitaryan. I could use King to get Ings if I was going to get him. Bernardo. I mean, we've talked about Bernardo Silva a little bit. Slightly worried about him because he looks like he could get moved all over the shop, so he could go as well. But I mean, just generally, I wouldn't mind making just one transfer. I mean, I'm fairly happy with what I've got. 80 points in the first 2 weeks. I don't feel the need to panic or anything, which is nice. It's good to be in that situation. So we'll just I think we'll just see what the press conferences throw up. If something jumps out at me, then I'll go for it. I'm not too worried about price falls. So yeah, undecided at the moment.
Okay. What about you, Az? Transfers and captaincy?
Yeah, I made mine early. I didn't want to lose any money on Sigurdsson or Jota. Jota getting subbed at half time was I can't be dealing with that. That was too much for me. So he went straight out. A lesson there, I think, on not getting overexcited with kind of new additions. I really thought Jota, was going to be absolutely incredible. He could well still be. It's only been 2 weeks, but if a player is getting benched when they're losing at half time, that's definitely a sign that they need to go. So Sigurdsson as well. I thought Sigurdsson had a really good game. From watching the highlights, it looks much more involved, but still hasn't got those set pieces. And I just can't handle Richarlison scoring. It does. I just don't think it's going to end. I think Everton's fixtures are so good, and he's the main man there. And I think it's trying to be too clever sticking with Sigurdsson.
So Richarlison and Mkhitaryan have come in.
So Richarlison and Mkhitaryan have come in, and it was, I think I'm pretty happy with that. It was a no-brainer for me.
And captain Salah?
Yeah.
Gotta
Yeah.
be. Luke, what about you?
Well, Jesus was only a 1 week punt based on that information, so it's basically going to be Jesus to Aguero, almost certainly. But obviously, that depends. If there's any inkling that maybe Jesus gets a start, they might think about something else. Might keep the transfer if that's the case. But with Aguero rising in price, it's probably going to be Aguero that comes in. To be honest with you, and captain probably be Aguero again. Everything shows me at the moment that he's the top dog. I know Wolves have been quite unlucky defensively. I think they've been quite stats-wise, have been pretty good defensively, but
they have. But four goals. I've already conceded just 2 games.
I just think Man City are just an absolute beast. I mean, obviously, if I had Salah at home to Brighton, I'd be thinking about him. And Mane's obviously a great option as well, better than Salah at the moment.
So yeah, for me, captaincy Salah home to Brighton. Yeah, definitely. Can't see a better option there. Possibly Mane if I had him, but I'm a dullard, so I would still go Salah anyway. Eriksen, I'm not happy with. King, not happy with. The short-term sensible move for me is Mane and Ings in for those two, getting 2 players I'm happier with. But maybe open persuasion there. I could also do Shaw out for a cheaper defender. I mean, there's a lot of options here. Eriksen's definitely going to be involved, though. I'm just a bit worried about Shaw. I haven't got Wan-Bissaka on the bench this week because he is suspended. Shaw, I just think, is on borrowed time, borrowed time with Mourinho. So if he doesn't show, then I've probably got Bolly coming in against that Man City attack, which could end up being negative points. So, I'll have to keep an eye on that. But, I don't know. Another option, this is an option other people might be considered, is the kind of a bit more long-term and possibly sensible. Eriksen out for Mkhitaryan, so that's getting a good player with good fixtures. And then that leaves me with 2 free transfers the following week, of which I could get Hazard in because I've got a bit of spare cash for someone like Silva or even Mkhitaryan if I go off him quickly. That's something that does appeal. But I kind of think everyone's got to be quite aggressive this season. We've all had some quite good scores, and there's people out there who've having 100 plus for both game weeks, and these are just your jobbing fantasy Premier League managers, and they are just getting these bigger scores, and that's going to keep carrying on. So while people are picking sensibly players like Mane and Aguero, and so I just think I can't afford to have one of those weeks where I just think I'm just gonna leave it and think long term and go in with Josh King. I think you need to be aggressive. Just go, look, they're not banging it in. Move on. But
I can't ever remember taking 2 transfers before the week's finished.
Yeah.
Before, I still
had that. You're ultra aggressive there. I mean,
0.4 though. Like this, if I waited, I would have lost 0.4 at this stage of the season. That just seems too much.
Well, I think I will lose that, but I'm just happy to wait. And it's not really because I think there's an off chance of a training ground injury, but then none of them are playing midweek. It's not that. It's just I'm genuinely quite undecided because it's quite a big move.
Yeah.
I could even switch kind of formation. I could even move Josh King down to a 4.5 and then move to more of a 5-man midfield. And this is quite a big move. So I want time to think about it. I'll probably just go for the thing I first thought of, Man Innings. So, but it's lovely to see you all. It's been great here. Hopefully, those naysayers who say we all think the same will come out of this and think, well, hang on a minute. Yes, they are a bit different. So, vive la difference. It's a good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night.
And good night from me.
Good night, all.